Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode. Are we counting this as episode number 1?
No, it's episode number 2. Pilot's always episode number 1.
Okay, we'll count this as episode number 2 then, of the Juggling Balls podcast. I'm Stuart, the first voice you're hearing, and the second voice you'll hear is Millie, as the same as last week. This week we're going to be going a bit more in depth into the Premier League season, now that it's all done and dusted. Doing a team by team review, starting from the bottom, working our way up to the top, and seeing how we feel about each of the team's performance this season. There could be one or two rants in this one, be warned. So let's get started. So, as I said before, with the Premier League review, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up to the top. So that means beginning with the relegation teams, and beginning with Huddersfield.
Poor cows.
What was that, sorry?
Poor cows.
Poor cows. Yes, very much so. So with Huddersfield, obviously they finished bottom. They finished with 16 points, 3 wins out of 38 games. Pretty abysmal.
I've got nothing to say. They shouldn't be there.
They should be there.
They should be there. They should have gone down last year. They shouldn't have came up when they did come up. They got promoted. When they got promoted in the playoffs and the championship, they had a negative goal difference.
Yeah,
that's not good.
No, but I think
got promoted with negative goal difference. I'm amazed they survived the first year.
I think it's amazing that they survived the first year, and if you look at obviously this season, I think it just speaks volumes of the job that Wagner managed to do last year. Well, no, but if you looked at Huddersfield at the beginning of last season, everyone was saying immediately they're going down, and they're going down easily.
They weren't good last year, though.
It doesn't, but they still managed to stay up though. Like,
yes.
you still have to put the ball in the back of the net a certain amount of times to get the certain amount of points.
I know, but it's just.
I can't even remember who went down last season.
It was Swansea, Stoke and West Brom.
No, it wasn't Bury. Swansea, Stoke and West Brom.
Last year, Huddersfield scored 28 goals in 38 matches.
Yeah.
This season, they scored 28 goals in 38 matches.
Mm-hmm. How many did they concede last season though?
58.
Yeah, they conceded 76 this season.
Yeah, and so what they did last year was win games 1-0.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess, but it's not really a sustainable base to build off, as I'm sure we'll come to in a couple of teams' time.
Yeah, but in terms of Huddersfield, it was a strange one, because one of the few matches I've watched this season was them away to Wolves, and it was when they won 2-0, and it was probably by a large distance their best performance.
That's a Wolves problem. Don't take any stock in Wolves against the bottom six.
No, I know it's a Wolves problem, but if you watch the match as I did, Huddersfield dominated possession, and I think it was Moy who scored both goals.
Yeah,
and had probably his best game of the season.
Yeah, but that's what Wolves do. They let you have the ball and then counter.
Yeah, which
is fine when you're playing the big. We're getting ahead of stuff, but it's a Wolves. That's just a Wolves thing.
Yeah, but I was surprised that after watching that performance, seeing Huddersfield play that well, that was still when Wagner was there, and I thought maybe that result might have been a little bit of a catalyst for them to be able to kick on a bit. Obviously, it didn't do that.
The thing I always like to do with relegated teams in Premier League is, if you are, say, Bournemouth or Burnley or Newcastle, since they don't like spending anything that much, is there anybody from Huddersfield you would try and nick? Because I don't think there is, and that says a lot.
For me, the only player I would say is Moy. He's the only sort of player I could 28.
see. 28.
Yeah,
that's not young.
Oh, did you say young player?
No, well, just in general, like.
It doesn't. Well, no, I don't think it.
Is Moy good enough?
Well, if we're going on the basis of young players, Newcastle got Rondon on loan, and he's 30.
Yeah, no, but that's
But that's my point though. It's like it's not. You don't necessarily have to be a young player to be good enough to play. To stay up.
If you're gonna bring in somebody from Relegation, they need to be better than what you've got. Was my point.
Yeah.
I don't think Moy is better than any other centre midfielder that's in. There isn't a
But I'm saying Mike could be a squad player for a good number of teams. Thankfully for them, they didn't have the lowest record, and that still remains with Derby.
I don't know if that's ever going to get beaten. It's gonna have to be a horrendous team to come up through the playoffs though, to break that record.
I mean,
with nowadays how teams in the championship are, I can't see that being beaten.
Well, we'll see, won't we? I suppose. Next, we've got Fulham, who finished 19th. They had 26 points from 38, minus 47 goal difference.
How many goals did they concede in the end?
If I've got this right in front of me, it was 2 seconds.
It was at least above 75. It must have been.
It was 81. Yeah.
81. Yeah, that's not good.
They conceded the most.
Yes.
Easily the most. Well, I say easily the most. Huddersfield conceded 76, so it was 5 goals less than Fulham. But in terms of Fulham season, I actually had them pegged as staying up.
I had them
17th.
I had them 10th.
I had them 17th.
I bought into all the players they bought. But I was really looking forward to this team, and they could not defend.
Yeah, I think that
pretty much this couldn't defend.
I think for me the thing was with Fulham was that if you look at the history of Premier League teams, having chopping and changing managers the way they've done it is never a successful route to go.
I will point you at Watford and say that's stupid. That argument is stupid.
Well, no, but if you look, they've had 3 different managers this season.
Yeah, well they had a manager who took them up, and so he was given a budget, and that wasn't working, so they changed. And then they brought in a experienced manager who... The Ranieri appointment was weird, but at least half understandable. And so that just didn't work. Because the one thing Ranieri does is have a solid base, and as I said, they couldn't defend. So the Parker thing is just an interim thing. No. He might... Is he...
He's been announced as they announced him this week.
I would be pleasantly surprised if he lasts the season at Fulham next year. I have a feeling it might be a Darren Moore situation where they are expected to come straight back up, and so when it doesn't look like this, he'll get moved on, which will be a shame.
Yeah, I got annoyed with that Darren Moore situation with West Brom, so I was just thinking, he's in their playoffs. Why would you get rid of him?
Because they need to come up because their finances are horrendous.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but but the guy they had in to replace Darren Moore, go on a bit of a tangent here, but replacing Darren Moore, he wasn't any better than Darren Moore.
Yeah, no, but the point is that they thought that there was no chance under Moore, because they were in a little bit of a bad run. There was no chance under Moore that they would get in the top 2. Now, granted, there was a little chance of them getting in the top 2 regardless who they got, but they decided, we need to get promoted this year. It's either we stick with this guy who we don't think is good enough, or we can make a change. So they made a change, and it hasn't worked. We'll see how bad the situation actually is. Come this point next season at the very latest, we'll know how desperately you had to get promoted. But from the sounds of it, it's not looking great for them.
Yeah, but I'd say, I think going back to Fulham, I don't expect them to come back next season. Do you?
It depends what they do, because I've got their squad in front of me, and again, playing the game of who would you nick. There are players here who I think are good. I think Mitrovic is a Premier League quality enough striker.
Yeah.
Babel on his 6 months has done very well.
Yeah.
I like Sessegnon. I like Kearney, even though I'm a bit worried that he can't really do anything defensively. Seri is fine if you have the ball. He's not a ball-winning midfielder, which is what I think they would try and do with him. Yeah. And Grisa, who they got him from Marseille, is good. And surprisingly, I haven't had any defenders or keepers. But there are some players here that if they stay at Fulham, I think there's a decent chance they will be in the next season. But I could also see them selling all of those.
Yeah, well, that's where my view comes into it, because I feel like
it's difficult to project because they're easily the team that can be picked off the most.
Yeah, I think that Sessegnon, Mitrovic, Kenny, those are the sort of main three for them. I think they'll probably be gone. I think Kenny's probably the most likely to stay out of the three.
Yeah. I would love to see Kenny at Newcastle.
Well, he was when Newcastle got promoted, he was linked with them initially, but I think Fulham priced him out, and of course we'll get into that later. But Ashley's not one to spend the dosh.
Really?
Yes. Anyway,
I was shocked by that revelation.
Anyway, good luck to Fulham next season. So the next club is number 18th, and that's Cardiff.
They're finding Neil Warnocks.
Don't get me started on Neil Warnock.
I thought Cardiff and Huddersfield would battle it out to who could finish with the worst man points. I was pleasantly surprised with Cardiff this year.
Yeah, I was as well. I didn't expect them to take it as close. I had them pegged as 20th. I thought they were going to struggle big time. I didn't think they would stay up. It turns out they didn't, but it was a lot closer than I think people had expected them to.
If you had given me a over-under of 30 points on Cardiff, I would have heavily bet the under. Mm-hmm. So they got 34 in the end.
Mm-hmm. So what was the name of their midfielder that they had on loan?
Camarasa?
Yeah. I think
he's from Betis, but yeah.
It was a Betis, sorry, yeah. He looked probably like one of their best players this season, and probably one of the reasons why they did as well as against people's expectations as they did. And I think that I don't know how their season is going to go next year, because I don't know if Warnock's decided to stay on.
He has
decided to stay on, so they could be a team that could bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them getting picked off by maybe Patterson. Mm-hmm. So someone picks up Patterson. Mm-hmm. But you had Nias, Camarasa, Harry Arter apparently was there on loan.
Yeah, I knew Arter was there on loan.
So, but there aren't many players standing out here as ones that will automatically be picked up elsewhere, and then not exactly players that are going to go back onto the continent because they didn't really buy anyone from Europe. Mm-hmm. So if they could easily run this back and see how it works. Warnock's a very good championship manager. Mm-hmm. So I would expect them to stick around near the top again. Mm-hmm. So we might see him in a couple of years. You never know. Yeah,
absolutely. And absolutely, I agree with that 100%. I think that they're definitely probably one of my teams next year. I'd be looking. I think out of the three that have gone down, I think they're probably my favourites to most likely make a challenge to come back up.
I will. If I had to pick right now, I would say Fulham, but that is heavily dependent on not getting gutted.
Yeah,
but we just don't know whether they will or not.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So out of the relegation zone and into safety we go. So.
Not if you're Chris Hughton.
No.
Like it.
Is that? Are you happy with that one?
I like it.
You're happy with that one? Okay. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so number 17, Brighton Hove Albion, stayed up with 36 points, which is been there or thereabouts, I think.
There's always one team that goes on a horrendous run near the back end of the season and goes 15 without a win.
Yeah.
And they nearly always go down.
Yeah.
Brighton were lucky enough that Cardiff and Huddersfield were there this year, pretty much.
Yeah. That was the thing.
Which is why I got fired.
In the first 10-15 games, Brighton were doing really well.
Brighton were winning without playing overly well.
Yeah.
They got points on the board, which is what you always want.
Yeah.
So you can really complain.
Yeah.
But they had that run, and it was against teams in and around them, and that was the problem. It wasn't like they were.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they played the top 6 back to back or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate for Chris Hughton that he's got sacked. I mean,
I don't think
I can understand the position of the directors of wanting to go in a different direction. I think after the run of form that they had, I think that it's understandable why he's got sacked. I think there's a few jobs coming up in the championships now, with like the Middlesbrough job, the Swansea job's potentially coming up because apparently West Brom want the Swansea manager.
Well, Graham Potter is odds-on favourite for the Brighton job.
Oh, sorry, not West Brom, Brighton. Yeah.
I want to play a game with you. So Graham Potter's odds-on to get the Brighton job.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to guess who is second on the bookie's favourite on the bookie shortlist?
Allardyce?
Good Lord, Allardyce. I can't see him on this list.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of clubs in that sort of like managers. Pardiola?
Can't find him.
No? Okay. I don't know then.
So I found Pardew. Pardew's at 60 to 1.
Right. So you can get odds on him, right?
You can get odds on Pardew. I can't say any, but there's Allardyce. Allardyce is at 50.
So who's second favourite then?
It is one Philip Neville.
What?
You're never going to guess that. It was brilliant.
No, I'm never going to guess Philip Neville.
I looked this up on a whim to see because I had a half thought of Arteta. So I was seeing to see what his odds were, and he's 25 to 1.
That was another thing I saw in the rumour mill, was that apparently Brighton are going to make an offer to Juan Mata for a contract when his contract's up.
I can't imagine he would take it. I would presume Mata would want to go back to Spain.
I presume that as well, but stranger things have happened.
I'm pretty sure Valencia would probably take Mata back on a reduced contract.
I think a lot of the higher up Spanish teams would probably take Mata.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think Brighton have probably got a big summer coming up with getting whoever the new manager's going to be, and I think there's going to be some players who are going to be getting swept out. I think the right back of like the past 8 or 9 years, Bruno, he's retired.
Bruno's retired.
They're going to have to obviously bring someone in to replace him. The likes of Glenn Murray, he's not exactly a spring chicken. No offense to Glenn Murray. So yeah,
they bought Andone to spearhead the attack. He started at the back end of the season, so I presume he would be there. And they got
long term sort of.
Yeah, long term. They got Montoya in this summer as a right back, so I can presume he will be starting, and they don't get anybody in. So yeah, I'm still flabbergasted by this list. So Phil Neville's best price is 11 to 4.
Right, okay.
Lord. Who's put money in Phil Neville? Anyway, after Phil Neville, this is how you know the bookies have one name and nobody else. Because after Phil Neville, you've got Chris Wilder, not going to take it. Frank Lampard, not going to take it. Marcelo Bielsa, not going to take it.
I wouldn't necessarily say about Marcelo.
Bielsa's not going to Brighton.
Why is he not going to Brighton?
Because if he leaves Leeds, he's going elsewhere in Europe when you can walk into pretty much any Europa League side you would. There's on offer, basically.
Okay.
It's amazing he's at Leeds. He's not going to Brighton. Slavislav Jokanovic. Possibly.
No. If I'm Brighton, I wouldn't want to go that option. Not all the way Fulham.
Rafa Benitez. Not going to happen.
We'll not talk about Rafa.
Mikel Arteta. Probably not going to happen. Lee Johnson. Is he still at Bristol City?
Yeah. David
Moyes. Stephen Gerrard. Chris Coleman. Mark Hughes.
Okay.
Those are all 25 to 1s at places.
Okay.
That's generally the bookie scoring. It's going to be Potter. If it's not Potter, we have no fucking idea.
Okay. Right, well, we'll move on from Brighton then. And on to number 16. That's Southampton. It was quite a bit of a dicey...
It was dicey for a bit.
Dicey for a bit until the started to pull away.
Once Hasenhüttl got his system sorted, I wasn't really that worried. They never really pulled away though, which is not great. But that is a team where I want to see what they do.
Well,
because they've got a lot of parts that don't really fit together.
Well, I think for me, in terms of these three teams, obviously in 17, 16, 15, out of Brighton, Southampton, and Burnley, I think if there's a team that's going to sort of if I was to pick now out of those three teams who weren't going to be in that battle again next season, for me, seeing Southampton in the last couple of months, I think with the way he's starting to get them used to the system, I would say Southampton are probably going to be the ones who would probably be the safest out of those three.
Yeah, I mean...
Which probably means, because I've said that now, they'll finish 20th.
But Southampton should be...
Yeah.
Southampton really shouldn't be in a relegation fight.
Yeah.
The whole point of what Southampton do is they bring in young players and through the academy, and then they play them, and then they sell them on, and then the next batch comes through, and the next batch comes through. It's like an English version of what Ajax do on the continent. Southampton trying to do in England. And you are vulnerable in that way if you have a bad batch of players coming through the academy, or if you don't buy as well as you have previously, or you have managers that don't quite work. And so Southampton have rattled through managers quite recently. That's where I think the problem is at the moment. I think Hasenhüttl's very good, so I think they'll be fine next year. But it is one of those. It's one of those clubs that on paper you know what they're going to do, but it's just how panicky they get because their behind the scenes stuff isn't as smooth as you'd like it to be.
As you'd imagine it to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that with a few, but I suppose you could say a lot about the same thing about a lot of these teams in this position, in these positions, from 16th to 9th or 8th and 7th, that with a few good signings they could.
I think there's a bit of a gap between I think there's a gap between what West Ham is and where Southampton are. And so I can't imagine anyone who finished in the top half of their season struggling. But you could talk me into Southampton not really pulling away from the relegation scrap again next year.
And speaking of being in those upper positions last season to being in the lower positions this season, we'll move on to number 15, and that's Burnley and Sean Dyche.
Burnley are exactly who I think they are.
Yeah.
To quote,
they've gone back to where I would imagine them to be.
Yeah, like Burnley last season, like not the season just finished, but the season before, they very grossly overachieved through not really complicated ways. They had a very good defensive system that played out of their goddamn minds, basically, and that's how they finished seventh.
Yeah,
and so it was always going to regress slightly, and if you want a regression in your defensive system, you buy Joe Hart. So that's what Burnley did. They bought Joe Hart, and go went crap for 6 months, and they thought, you know what, we don't need him. And then suddenly their defence was fine again.
Yeah. But it was
almost like Joe Hart is back.
I think Burnley's season turned around after the Boxing Day loss they had. I think it was 5-0 to Everton. Like that, I think that was one of the last times Joe Hart was in.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Their season literally turned around once they.
No, but basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm backing up your point. And basically, when they took Joe Hart out and put I can't remember if it was Heaton had come back then or not, or if it was someone else, but whoever it was that came in after that, the defensive was a hell of a lot more solid. They finished on 40 points, which is always the magic number that always gets quoted every season for teams to stay up. And if you're in and around 40 points, then generally you should be okay. And they didn't necessarily do, and Burnley did the thing that you should always do in that position where you got points against the teams around you.
Yeah.
So, I think, to be fair, for Burnley, if you said when Burnley got promoted, they would have survived 3 seasons in the Premier League. I
would have said that.
I don't think if you had.
I probably wouldn't have bet on it, but then last season I thought they would be just about survived, and this season I thought they were going to be lower mid-table. So I would be surprised to see Burnley get relegated now, but when they first came up, you're right, yeah, I probably wouldn't have backed on 3 seasons. My favourite Burnley stat that I've seen is Manchester City have got 198 points in the last 2 Premier League seasons. That's more than what Burnley have in their entire Premier League history.
That speaks to the level.
That's amazing since Burnley qualified for Europe last season.
Yeah, but yeah, but then if you look at Wolves, they have 57 points this season.
I know.
If they do that 3 more times,
I know.
it's like
I know.
Yeah. It's
It was-
bizarre.
it was-
It's bizarre.
It was something I looked on
Yeah.
on Monday morning because I was like, this must be someone must be in.
But yeah, looking forward to seeing Burnley again next season.
Yeah.
And
All the 1-0 wins.
what no wins.
All the 1-0 wins. Chris Wood is very good. I will say that.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Chris Wood.
Yes. So in terms of the next team, we've got number 14. That's AFC Bournemouth.
But if you want to talk about teams who play very well against the sides around them, Bournemouth are the kings of that.
Yeah.
That's how they're never in trouble.
Mm.
Because they are terrible against like the top 8.
Unless
they're amazing against the
your
bottom
name
8.
is Chelsea.
Yeah.
They play well against Chelsea.
They play well against Chelsea, and that's it. But against the bottom 8, they are very, very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, it's the same as Burnley. Like they're a solid side. I think Bournemouth is what Fulham were trying to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because what Fulham were trying to do is play on the front foot and play high expansive football.
Mm-hmm.
And when Bournemouth came up and did that, they got absolutely murdered by anyone who was half decent that year and stayed up by beating the teams around them, which is what Fulham couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see if this team gets slightly gutted though, because there are some interesting players on this team.
Yeah. There's a few players in there that I think the bigger teams could come sniffing around for. And I think one other thing I've been wondering about the past few months with Bournemouth is how long is Eddie Howe there for?
Eddie Howe will stay there until A, he leaves because the bottom falls out,
Mm-hmm.
or B, a big club goes in for him
Mm-hmm.
and like literally offers him a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see Howe going to like a Leicester or an Everton or West Ham. If United or Spurs opens up and they want him, he will go. But I can't imagine I can't imagine going up a mini tier.
Mm.
I think if he just sticks saying, I have kept this very, very small club, Bournemouth are a small club by Premier League standards. I've kept this very small club in the Premier League without too much complaints for quite a while, and I try my best to play nice, open, attacking football. I'm English. Eventually, one of the big clubs is gonna roll the dice on it. Eventually,
I don't. That's the thing though, because I think if you look at a lot of these bigger, if you looked at that top 6, apart from Spurs, and obviously us with United with David Moyes, how many times recently have they gone for? Well,
which is why I said eventually.
Yeah, but I don't think it doesn't happen with such regularity that I think that a job's gonna.
It doesn't, but what clubs that are above Bournemouth are stable enough that you would want to go to that aren't in that top 6?
Well, I mean,
Everton is pretty much the only one, and I can't imagine them getting rid of Silva.
I mean, to be fair, I would have obviously Rodgers is there now, but I would say Leicester's a pretty decent job.
Yeah. But like there isn't that many. Like I would have liked to. I would like to see what he could do at West Ham, because they would probably spend a lot more money at West Ham. But I can't. It's not really that big of a move. Bournemouth to West Ham. I can't see him, because he's got such a history at that club. I can't see him moving unless it's a really big offer.
Yeah. No. It's I'm very much on the side of, I don't think he's going for a couple of seasons, but it's going to be interesting to see what club it is that comes along to take him, because I think there could be opportunity. I think it's particularly those there's a couple of clubs I think that there is going to be a bit of a manager merry-go-round in terms of if Pochettino does go in the next few seasons.
Can I put out a very stupid hypothetical for you?
When do you not? Go on.
Okay, Bournemouth next season finish around 11th and not in any sort of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
England crash out the group stages of Euro 2020, Southgate gets fired. Do England approach Eddie Howe?
I mean, if that's the scenario you're throwing at me, yes. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. But then again, that's why it's a stupid hypothetical.
Yeah.
But like, again, that's the sort of...
Mm-hmm.
Like, it might be more realistic for how to get the England job than a top 6 job.
Mm-hmm.
Which says something.
Mm. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how Bournemouth do next season with Howe, because he's done a cracking job in the 4 seasons now.
Something like that, yeah.
4 seasons, I think, that they've been in the Premier League. And on to number 13.
Unlucky 13.
Unlucky 13. God, this one could take a while. Newcastle United finished 13th with 45 points, minus 6 goal difference.
So Newcastle last season finished on 44 points with minus 8 goal difference. This season finished on 45 points with minus 6 goal difference.
So they've improved.
They've also gone down 3 places.
Mm-hmm.
Has this team gone forwards?
No.
Has this
It's
team
stayed
gone
the
back?
same.
Yeah, it's like, has this team gone backwards? No.
It's stayed the same.
Yeah.
But I think it's undeniable that it would not have stayed the same if Benitez wasn't there.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to you. What level of manager... Actually, no, I'm going to change this slightly.
Okay.
If Chris Hughton was in charge of Newcastle this season,
Whoa.
where do they finish?
Oh, I don't know. I think they would. They would be lower. They'd definitely be lower.
Would they be lower than Brighton? Because I want to say no,
Potentially,
but you could easily argue. You could easily argue either side, but that's just
is the Benitez push of those players and the drag up of those players in terms of quality, I think is bigger than what Chris Hughton did with Brighton. I think they might have been below Brighton personally.
Yeah.
Because I think
but
whilst Shaw has been good this season and he's definitely played outside the level of what I thought he would, the only reason he has done so well is because Benitez has developed him to that level basically, and I would say that for a lot of the players. I think if you look at I know Perez isn't necessarily the best player in that team or close to being the best player in that team, but if you look at the last 8 games of the season they had in the league, he was scoring goals left, right and centre, and I don't think...
I think the reason why Perez picked up back half the season was once Almiron... I know Almiron missed the last couple of games, but when Almiron came in, the way that front three worked was a lot better than what it was, because suddenly you actually had 3 to worry about. It wasn't just the centre, one of the centre backs takes Rondon, the other one takes Perez wherever he goes. Now you had Almiron as well, and so that when he got injured, they brought in Atsu, who could just run all day. He's quick. That's basically Christian Atsu in a word. He's quick.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between Benitez and Hughton is
huge difference.
Well, the fundamental difference is Benitez can drill his players not to do stupid things in that system, and Hughton drills players in a system, and so there's the one I can see that Brighton job going one of 2 ways. Either they go for someone who's a better version of Hughton, or they try and change what they want to do, which is what you do if you want Potter. But I could see them going a higher version of functional. Benitez, for as much as I love him for what he did at Liverpool, he was always functional first, and then put stuff on top.
Yeah.
Like the season he almost won the league, it was basically a back six with Xabi Alonso pinging balls to Torres to either run and score himself or to knock down to Gerrard.
Yeah.
That was basically the system.
But I think but the thing is as well, there was a big there was a big turnaround for Newcastle was when they went to 5 at the back.
Yes.
And what you're saying about Benitez is true in terms of him drilling the players, because one of the big things defensively for them was the left wing back position. They didn't have someone who could play that position well enough. He basically turned Matt Ritchie into a left wing back.
Yeah, and if my thing is the easiest place for Newcastle to improve next year is if he wants to use that system again, and I can't see any reason why you wouldn't.
That's if he's there next
season.
season. That's if he's there next season.
If he's there next season, yes.
But that's because I think obviously the main thing for Newcastle and the main worry for Newcastle fans and partial Newcastle fan such as ourselves, because we've lived up here for almost I've lived up here for almost 20 years. You even more, I think. Yeah. So I think the worry for obviously Newcastle fans is if Benitez doesn't stay, how big is that drop off?
Depends who they get in.
Yeah.
It really does. Newcastle theoretically is such a huge opportunity for both an owner and a manager, or an owner coach, and the recruitment staff, or whatever you want to call people nowadays. The problem Newcastle have fundamentally is they've got an owner that doesn't want to put more money into the club that he already has. So the club will always want to be where they are. Ashley's very happy with the club where it is right now. And so it's basically working out how good of a manager do you need, which is why I said if Houghton is at Newcastle, where do they finish? Because I could see Benitez Benitez's contract goes up at the end of this month.
End of June, I think.
End of June, okay. So they got 6 weeks, basically. I could see if there was anything, Ashley going, okay, I can find somebody else. He's going to be cheaper. He's not going to ask as many questions.
The problem with that is that if you do leave it for the 6 weeks, you have to get the manager in. You then that manager then has to get. I mean, we're banking on Newcastle buying some players in the summer.
They won't.
If they buy, but the problem they've got is that they're basically going to have Gale come back and Rondon's going back the other way. Gale isn't going to do for them what Rondon's done this season.
I think that there's a workaround in there that some money will exchange and Gale will stay at West Brom and Rondon will stay at Newcastle.
Potentially.
But the problem is Newcastle's transfer budget was actually in Debenhams and that went to administration. So Ashley lost all of his money in Debenhams, so there is actually no money.
Yeah. Well, I did make a joke at work at work the other day to the Newcastle fans that Perez is being linked for a £35 million transfer, but that's going to be going into any sort of administration stores like HMV and people like that, and they might become the new sponsors of the club. So it's so frustrating.
In all fairness, HMV is a fantastic defensive midfielder.
Yeah, you can see, but the thing is though, you watch Newcastle in games and you can see that with the right investment and the players in, they could start becoming that club they were 10, 15 years ago. Not 10 years ago, they were getting relegated 10 years ago, but like in the early 2000s when they were competing for top four.
A team like Newcastle, it boggles my mind. A team like Newcastle should never ever be in any sort of relegation discussion.
Yeah.
There is no excuse, realistically, why Newcastle should not be with, at the very least, the Evertons, the Leicesters, the West Hams. They should be in that mid-table tier, and in a good season can finish 7th. And if one of the top 6 bombs falls out, then they can nick 6th. That's what they should be aiming for. But you do need the investment to get there, and that's the thing that's missing.
Yeah.
Fun game to play.
Okay.
Allegedly, Newcastle brought in a left wing back in January on loan from Monaco.
Yeah.
His name was Antonio Barreca.
Uh-huh.
How many minutes did he play for Newcastle in the Premier League?
0.
No. Higher than 0, surprisingly.
10.
Less than 10.
Oh, God. Jesus. How many minutes did he
He
play?
played 4 minutes.
Bloody hell.
That's
What a waste of a loan.
that's amazing.
No wonder Benitez used Richie at left wing back.
Yeah, he played 4 minutes off the bench at Spurs on the 2nd of February. Then was not in the matchday squad until the end of April when they drew against Brighton. Was on the bench against Brighton, on the bench against Liverpool. Was not on the squad on the final day.
Dear me.
That, my friend, is great. But it's great scouting.
Anyway, onwards from Newcastle, we'll move up to number 12 and go to Palace. Finish with 49 points.
Can I just say, I told you about Palace Bournemouth last week.
Oh, you did, yeah, you did.
There's always one game.
To be fair, I did say one of 2 games, and I did pick the West Ham game, which finished
Yes.
I think with 5 goals. So I'll take that as a minor victory.
That was very consistent though.
Yeah. So
It's count.
it does. But yeah, with Palace, what can you say anything more than that's
Roy Hodgson is very functional.
yeah.
If Chris Hughton was at Crystal Palace,
No, Jesus Christ.
but like again, it's the same sort of thing. Hodgson is Hodgson could keep Newcastle up. Going back to the functional manager thing, there isn't that much that Palace do that is interesting, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
They have a solid base. Wan-Bissaki's been quite good.
Mm-hmm.
And they have Milivojevic, who I like as the defensive midfield.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Zaha.
Well,
And they brought in Michi, came on loan, and I do love a bit of Michi.
yeah.
But it's really, I really struggle to work out what they're actually doing, apart from just existing in this top of the bottom halfness that they do.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose with Palace, it's they've ended exactly where anyone would expect them to be, because they have a good enough squad to do that. No one really thought they were going to struggle for relegation. I think the big thing for Palace this summer is obviously, I think Zaha's come out in the past week or so and said that he wants to play for a club that's competing in Europe, and which you can understand. He's a good enough player probably to be in and around those squads. So I think that
is there anybody in the top 6 in England that should go after Zaha? Your silence is the answer.
No. I need a couple of seconds to think about it. I can't just instantly go, there you go. But I would say,
I can't.
To play in the first team consistently,
Yeah.
I would argue no. I would say to be a good backup, I would say you would probably look at the likes of Spurs and Chelsea, Arsenal maybe.
Can Chelsea buy anyone?
Well, no, Chelsea. Obviously, if Chelsea could buy people, that would be fine.
Yeah.
But obviously, at this point, they can't. But if you're looking at people's squads as a backup, I think Chelsea, Spurs, and Arsenal are probably in that.
Spurs
in that
makes a
conversation.
bit of sense since they can't buy any foreigners.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the space in their UEFA squads for a non-homegrown English player.
Yeah.
So they have to sell a foreigner to buy a foreigner.
Yeah.
Which is why Eriksen's probably going to leave.
Yeah.
So Spurs kind of makes sense. I was being a bit facetious with the question.
I know you were.
Could he get into the United first 11? Can't see any reason why not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, we'll go into it later. But I think the players like Zaha are probably the type of players we're going to be looking at in the summer. But I don't think personally Zaha would come back to us.
I don't think
because
he would either.
He still has a bad taste in his mouth with what happened last time.
Well, but it depends. I suppose it depends why the bad taste. Like if it was with Moyes and how.
If it's because of Moyes, then you could see.
Then you could come back. If it's with higher up on the chain, which hasn't changed,
yeah,
then that's the problem.
we'll get into that later, believe you me. Anyway, so moving on from Palace, because again, there's not really a lot to discuss with them. We'll go into Watford, who had finished 11th with 50 points.
They started off well.
They started off really well.
They've taired off badly though.
I mean, to be fair, with Watford, at the start of the season, I wasn't 100% sure if they were going to have a typical Watford season or if they were going to be struggling in relegation.
Yeah, they ended up typical Watford.
And they ended up typical Watford. For a while, it looked like they were battling for number 7 with Wolves. It looked like that between them and Wolves. And I think the trade-off has been if we got to the final, you have 7th. That was...
Yeah, well, like... They got to the FA Cup final and I'm not entirely sure whether... Have they?
Well, in the past 5 games, their form is... I don't know if it's left to right or right to left on this, but they've lost 3, drawn 1.
Yeah,
1
like... Their last win against a side that didn't get relegated in the league, I know there's a lot of providers on there, was at the beginning of March.
Right.
It's not great.
Well, yeah, but I suppose at that point they've stayed up. They were probably concentrating on the cup run more than anything else at that point because they had a decent chance.
That was the weekend before the quarter final.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose.
And I think that, I mean, it's going to be nice, hopefully, to see a summer where Watford don't sack the manager for getting them into a position they should be in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Gracia should be fine. Like
you should be fine.
It's Watford. We're not going to say is fine. We're going should be fine.
This is where they get battered 5-0 in the cup final, and then like within half an hour they've announced he's sacked.
We are recording this it's now an hour-ish before the cup final.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're not going to get into it.
Yeah.
Very quickly, what's your prediction for the cup final?
3-1 City.
I'll say 3-0 then because I was 10 by 3-1. Like I had a look. City are favoured by I think the handicap's -1.5, 175. I thought that was too low. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's Watford are
you never know on the day if they turn up. If they turn up, De La Feo could have another performance and get a couple of goals.
The only way Watford can win today is if they open it up and it finishes 4-3 Watford. I just can't see it happening.
Well,
City have been too good defensively.
It's the cup final. Anything can happen, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But again, good solid season for Watford. I think this is probably the second to last team we're probably going to be saying this about. West Ham finished 10th for 52 points. I don't really remember seeing a lot of West Ham this season.
West Ham started awful. Pellegrini decided on a system that half worked, got them into mid-tableness, and that's it.
Yeah. That'll cover it. Right, okay.
Cover it. Very quickly, Lanzini's came back from his ACL injury.
Yeah.
He missed the World Cup with. He's been looking okay since then. So, I'll be interested to see how he does. Felipe Anderson, very good.
Yes.
People should have bought him beforehand.
Yeah. It looks like, do you think he could potentially go in somewhere to a bigger club?
I can't see anyone paying 45 billion, which is probably what you're going to need to pay.
Yeah. What did West Ham pay for him?
Not that.
They paid about...
But I think they paid about 25.
Yeah.
But I can see that price pretty much doubling.
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
That's what they paid. So yeah, I can see more than 40, 45 from.
Yeah. Okay, so again, it's good season for West Ham. I think if you look as well from the previous season, one thing I will touch upon is obviously the previous season with West Ham where there was a lot of trouble in terms of the crowd was very against the team, and to the point I remember that Burnley game where the crowd invaded the pitch.
Yes.
And I think for the sake of West Ham, I think it's been probably good for them to have the type of season that they've had where they've been consistent and sorted out their issues and to have the focus going forward now rather than worrying about the crowd potentially getting involved or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the one thing about hiring Pellegrini was that they were never going to be defensive. Mm-hmm. So they were always going to try and play at least a bit on the front foot, which is what they always wanted anyway. Just looking at the squad, they've got some interesting players. I don't know how many of them are going to stick around. Like Arnautovic, could still leave.
Mm-hmm.
Chikorita's still only 30. I thought he was older than that. Yeah, Felipe Anderson, someone big on the continent comes in, might want to go. Declan Rice, I don't think's gonna leave, but again,
I think he's got another season at West Ham.
I like if Man United pay stump up 50 million cash, I'd be tempted.
Moving on from that, we'll go into number 9, and that's Leicester, again finishing on 52 points.
Can we just say poor Claude Puel? That's very difficult for me to say. Poor Claude Puel. I really like Puel. He's not, again, he's a very functional manager, and if you're a mid-table side, like we just said with West Ham, what they want is not someone who's functional, which is, it is, like, people are entitled to their own opinions. I think it's, be careful what you wish for. Rodgers is fun. I expect it all to blow up in his face in about 18 months, because that's what happens with Rodgers.
I think Rodgers' appointment with Leicester was a great decision.
I'm terrified that he's brought in his head of recruitment, though.
Well,
I'm terrified by that, because Leicester have a nucleus of a very fun squad, and I don't want them to mess about with it. On a very selfish point, I really don't want them to mess about with it.
But that's the thing. I think Rodgers has got into a Leicester job, seeing the amount of young players that are in there who do have a good amount of potential, and seeing what he could do with that squad. And I think that's why he's gone to Leicester. And I think that, yes, there will be some investment, as there always is in the summer, but I think that it won't necessarily disrupt the team horrifically, or to a point where it's going to damage the team and make them worse. I think that Leicester could potentially be one of those, be even closer to challenging for that top 7 spot.
If I'm Leicester, I'm looking to make Tielemans loan permanent, get a centre half, and find a young keeper that can take over from Casper in 18 months' time. That's all I'm doing.
If I'm Leicester, I'm also looking at potentially a striker. I think I'm looking.
Iheanacho. You don't need another striker. He walked into that.
I didn't walk into that at all. Like, Ian,
you know what? I love Iheanacho though.
Don't get me wrong, Iheanacho has the potential to be a cracking striker, but the problem is that if he's not doing it at the minute and he doesn't start doing it next season, when's he going to do it? Because he's not. He's starting to get to that point now where he's had a few seasons, or two seasons, where he could have pushed to get into that first team.
He's only 22.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time left.
Well,
there's plenty of time left.
I'm just saying.
Where was Jamie Vardy when he was 22? There's plenty of time left. I can't believe I just use Jamie Vardy in a possible point. Oh.
Well done, mate. But the thing is,
you see what you've done to me.
I still think they could do another striker, because yes, as good as Iheanacho could be, Vardy is getting to that point where he's going to start losing his pace.
Vardy is already losing pace. I mean, Okazaki is leaving on a free. I suppose, like, looking at it, then you could argue that you need a striker. I would want, like, Leicester's camp is usually half decent. I like to see who they may just promote someone within. Potentially, they might do. I don't know who they've got, but that's just.
They might do. I mean, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see. But I think I think with the players with the likes of Vardy and Schmeichel and Morgan, they're coming towards. I mean, Morgan's probably on his way out in this summer, if not already. Schmeichel maybe has 1 or 2 more seasons. Vardy maybe the same at the top in the first team week in, week out. But yeah, I think that's probably going to be Rodgers' main job, is those leaders that have been there the past 4, 5, 6 seasons, if not more, is replacing them and building sort of that youth up that you can see has the potential, like Barnes, Chowdhury, all those guys. But yeah, I think next season, if Leicester finish again in a similar position, or I could see Leicester going up a couple of positions depending on who they get in the summer, and if they make Tielemans perm.
Yeah, like I would be very surprised if Leicester don't finish in the top 10 next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very, very surprised.
Yeah, me too. So on that note, moving on to number 8, and we've got Everton, who finished on 54 points. They had a strong end to the season, Everton.
They did. I was very, but looking at how the table actually ended up finishing, because usually once you get to about the end of March, April time, I kind of start paying attention to the mid-table sides, because that's not where the fun bits are. Like, Everton really rocked it up last couple of weeks.
Two big home wins against Arsenal and United, probably particular highlights for them.
Which we could just say that Arsenal United are not very good sides when they're away from home.
You could say that, but well, you say that about United, but United did have, how many games was it away from home where they went undefeated? So I think United are better than Arsenal away, but but like even so, like the way they performed and how solid they were against both those teams, I think obviously they should be credited for those performances on their own bat. I think the first sort of 3 quarters of the season there was a lot of the fans were sort of worried. I think there was a lot of concern from the fans about Silva and his position and how well he was doing. And I think this last sort of quarter of the season there was probably given a bit of hope to the fans as to how he's doing. I think that if they can get Zuma on a perm, because that seems to be a centre-back pairing that seems to be working and seems to have clicked after this toward the majority of the season was Keane and Zuma. Zuma looked like the player I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a theme, I think, in a couple when we get forward a few more teams. Chelsea, I think, is the most fascinating team this summer to watch, to see what they do, because you could argue that every single loan player that they've got out should not leave the club.
Well, I think I was reading something somewhere where the instruction is basically from Chelsea is that if you are out on loan this season, you are not leaving on a permanent this summer.
Yeah.
Because they basically need all hands on deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
like if I agree that Everton would probably like Zuma to stay come on a permanent, so you would then have to pay over what you would normally have to pay, and even then you're going to have to pay quite a bit. So it depends on how much. Didn't you came? Andre Gomez is on loan, isn't he?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that one. Like it's. I remember when a couple of years ago, like it didn't work at Barcelona because let's face it, he's not good enough for Barcelona. But he was linked with Spurs, and I can remember people going, "Why is Spurs going after Barcelona reject?" And he's come to the Premier League, and he's actually when he's got the ball at his feet and he's winning the players, he's quite good.
Yeah, and I think that if they can I think with Everton, they were starting to get into a motion of that Everton of old who were going to be challenging those top 6 spots, and I think that if they can continue that and keep those couple of players, or maybe make those players that they've got on loan perm, then that's probably progression for them as well. I think maybe the other thing they need to probably look at for Everton is a striker that scores 15-20 goals a season. I think that the rumour I read yesterday was that Rondon is someone they're looking at potentially.
If I'm Everton, I go after Mitrovic.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who I would go after. Rondon works as well.
Yeah. I think Rondon would be cheaper.
Probably. But
because I think Fulham are going to want their 25 million back.
Yeah.
If he's going to go. But yeah, I think Everton are looking like they're heading back into that place where they're looking to be, and start building off of again, which is competing for those top 7 spots. But I think the club we're going to talk about now, Wolves, their season, I think, is...
But being honest, in August, where did you think Wolves were going to finish?
Around 10th spot.
Yeah.
I didn't I didn't think they were going to have as good a season as they've had.
I didn't think they would be. I thought they would be good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they would be this good.
Mm-hmm.
And by this good, I mentioned it earlier. If Wolves got more points against the top 6 than they did against the bottom 6.
Yeah.
And if you just put in an average top 6 team does to the bottom 6, and
put that to Wolves.
Put that to Wolves.
Yeah.
They are right in it.
Yeah.
For a top 4, and it is scary because I'm looking, because what I've been doing for every team is having the squad this up and see what it is. For Wolves, I haven't actually got that up. What I've got up is Jorge Mendes' client list, because that is their transfer targets, and I'm looking at this and I'm frightened about who they could just plop in. And Andre Gomez is one of those players, but I'm looking at someone like Guedes from who's at Valencia, on loan from PSG, I think. Andre Silva, who's at Sevilla. You've got Angel Di Maria, if he's disgruntled at PSG, could come in. Renato Sanchez, if you want another centre mid. Gabriel at Valencia, the centre half. My favourite person on this list is Andre Gray. Has Jorge Mendes as his agent.
Of all the people.
Because I think everyone else here speaks some sort of Spanish or Portuguese, apart from Andre Gray, which randomly is on this. But it's interesting because the way they play is they have a back 5, with the wing backs being proper old school wing backs, bombing forward as soon as they can. And I don't know how you can make that sort of system work to beat the bottom sides that play a pack defense, because you're usually, the way Wolves play, you're relying on the front 2, the opposite side wing back, and whichever centre mid's on the ball as your attack. And so if you've got 4 attackers against back 6, back 7 in some instances, that's very difficult to break down. So I think going forward, it'd be interesting to see how Wolves will adapt in some way, whether it's adapting the shape or for those against those teams in the bottom quarter. Because if they can just nail that, they've got the system to play against the top sides already.
Yeah. And
they don't really need to change that much.
Yeah. Yeah, just hearing that list of clients that Mendes has got, I think it's just something that's...
It is very shady how much control he has.
Yes.
Technically, I don't think it's illegal.
No, but I think if you look at the players that could come in, the prospect of Wolves being in the top 6 isn't a far away thing next season.
If I had to, I would probably bet on Wolves over Arsenal next season. That's gonna haunt me next year, but I'm going that way in a minute.
I would change Arsenal at the minute to us, as in United.
United have more money. That's the only reason I picked Arsenal.
Yeah,
United have the money.
Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend it well enough.
Yeah, but I don't think Arsenal are actually going to spend that much.
Yeah.
And Arsenal have systemic problems.
Well, I'm sure we'll see how Wolves do. I think that they've definitely got a lot of potential in terms of being able to build on what they've done this season. Hopefully they don't have a second season syndrome and sink, but I find that hard to believe that they're going to do that. I think they'll be up there still.
The second season syndrome is what people cast as second season syndrome. What actually happens is a team really overperforms on something very basic in the first year, and it regresses hard the second year. That's what happened to Burnley. Burnley had second season syndrome. It just wasn't their second season. Wolves aren't overperforming. In fact, you could argue they're underperforming because they can't beat the bottom sides. So I can't see them dropping down.
Yeah, very good point. Right, I'm just going to take a quick break and we'll be back with you. Okay, so back to it, and this could be the one that could take the longest. Number 6, Manchester United, finishing on 66 points.
Do you want to talk through your problems here, Stuart?
I think I'm good. I think this is probably where I'll take over for a good half an hour, probably. First third of the season, not so great. Second third of the season, enjoyed it. Last third of the season, more for the first third of the season.
When United were good, they were very, very good. And when United were bad, they were
very, 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 very bad. Everyone, there's a lot. There's a lot of negative press at the minute, and rightly so, about United.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with it is that a lot of it saying, "Oh, Solskjaer this, Solskjaer's the problem, Solskjaer's this, that, and the other." For me, Solskjaer isn't the problem. The problems have come from decisions that have been made over the past 6 years, basically ever since the day Ferguson left. In that, we brought in Ed Woodward, and there's no problem with what Edward was done on the commercial side. It's been what's happened on the football side each and every time there's been a managerial decision, or in terms of the players that we brought in. First off, with the appointment of Moyes, which wasn't necessarily in Ed Woodward's hands, but in terms of the backing of Moyes, when the only players we have to show from Moyes' season, well, not even a season, it didn't even last a season, less than a season reign, was Fellaini, which was a last-ditch transfer on last day of the transfer window, and then a £40 million buy of Juan Mata from Chelsea. That first season alone showed the problems we were having. We didn't buy anyone else in the Moyes season.
Did you not get Herrera?
No, we got Herrera during Van Gaal.
Oh, okay.
So
moving
on to the next bit, we then had Van Gaal, who we had that summer where we got Falcao on loan when we shouldn't really have got him on loan, when he was coming back from his ligament injury, when he tried to rush himself back from the World Cup.
You don't want a person the year after an ACL, you want the year after.
Yeah, exactly. My point exactly. We then got Di Maria from Madrid. We got Herrera from Bilbao. I believe that was the same summer we got Depay.
Yeah, Depay.
And
good old Memphis.
And I think that for the system that Van Gaal was trying to use, those players are probably the right fit in terms of what Van Gaal was looking for. But in terms of how we've played in the past, because Van Gaal was trying to change things, I don't necessarily think it worked necessarily in his favour. Yes, in the first Van Gaal season we got top 4, but like, how many of those? None of those players are, apart from Herrera, who's leaving. None of those players are still there.
Van Gaal was the one who brought in Rashford.
Yes, in the second season. Yes, he brought in Rashford towards the end of the second season when we basically ran out of.
You ran out of strikers. Basically.
We ran out of strikers
because he started the Europa League game, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why I thought it was the first season, because it was Europa League.
Yeah.
Rather than the second season.
Was it Europa League?
It was Europa League because it was against Midtjylland.
Oh yes, it was. It was the start of the first. It was the end of the first season because it was Midtjylland, and then it was the Arsenal game where he had his infamous moment with I think it was Mike Dean, where he bumps into him and then falls onto the floor to insinuate that Arsenal were diving. Oh God, I miss Van Gaal in days like this. So we go from that into Van Gaal's second season, where he gets knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage. He then doesn't do anything in the league seasons, and then basically finishes outside the top 4, but then wins the cup, and within half an hour is sacked and announced and then Mourinho's announced.
Yeah,
And then the second half of that, but in the same second half of that season, Van Gaal then has to contend with basically all the Mourinho rumours of Mourinho's coming, how do you feel about this, and having to contend with that, as well as have to deal with the fact that his players aren't performing for him. You then have the awful decision of we win the cup, but then we're getting rid of the manager in the space of the hour of us winning it. Like, it's such bad decisions, left, right and centre, that have led us to this point where we basically said, right, we're hitting the reset button entirely. Which, on reflection, after the past however many games Solskjaer's been in now, there hasn't really been much of a reset from what I can see, because he said when Solskjaer was coming, we're bringing in a director of football. I haven't seen a director of football being appointed yet. I've seen a bunch of names linked with it, but I haven't seen anyone appointed. I worry in this summer that we're not going to bring in the players that we need to bring in, and that I don't necessarily have a lack of faith in Solskjaer to be able to turn it around. I have a lack in the people above him to be able to back him and get him the players in that he needs. Because I can see how Solskjaer's wanting to do it. The problem is at the moment is the players he wants to do it aren't capable of doing that job for him. And the perfect example I have of it is if you go to the Chelsea game at Old Trafford, that first half hour we were all over Chelsea. We were dominating them, we were pressuring them, we were nicking the ball off them in dangerous areas, and that's what caused the goal in the end. And if you look at Lukaku was chasing people down left, right and centre, but he hit a brick wall physically, and he literally was he was breathing out of his arse after half an hour in a Premier League game. As a top level professional footballer, you should not be breathing out of your backside. You should not be fatigued after half an hour. Unless you've literally run non-stop without breathing, as a professional athlete, you shouldn't be dead after 30 minutes. It just shouldn't be happening. And then if you look at but then the other thing is you've got to look at other players like Pogba, and that's a whole other episode of rants in itself on Paul Pogba. But if you look at Paul Pogba and his perceived effort level, if you watch him play, he just doesn't look like he's even bothered about being there. I watched that second leg at Barcelona, and there were times where he was doing that thing where that players do, where it's kind of like that sort of half jog, half run thing of I'm going back, but he's not really going back, and it's like I think the way Solskjaer's commented on it in press conferences has said, a lot of these players that I've got in now are not going to be here in the next 2 or 3 years because I'm going to be changing the way it's going to work out, or the way I want it to work out on the pitch, or how I want the system to work. And I think the way he wants it to work is he wants to play a high pressure game. He doesn't want to be sitting on the counter attack, which is what Mourinho was doing, and sort of Van Gaal was doing. I don't think he wants to play a counter attack game. I think he wants to play the high pressure game the likes of City and Liverpool want to do. But the players he's got at the minute just cannot do it.
So how does that make you feel?
Angry.
Okay.
I'm angry.
I love to go with that. I think you hit the nail on the head at the end, because what I was going to say is over this past, the post Sir Alex era this is. Mm-hmm. So Alex was very good at being a comedian. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple of things that you did back then. One thing was Sir Alex was a comedian. He adapted to what he had. Mm-hmm. He went from that to Moyes, who is functional. Mm-hmm. He's good functional, but functional. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work. You go to Van Gaal, who is very pure total football, attack. I would disagree with the fact that they bought players to fit the system, because the way Van Gaal has a very old-fashioned way of playing, had a very old-fashioned way approach of the total football. Mm-hmm. Everything was structured, but fluid. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work. That system doesn't work if you've got flair players. Mm-hmm. And that's what Di Maria and that's what Depay were. Mm-hmm. That's why they got ostracised, because they were doing stuff outside of what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And that's why you got rid of them. Mm-hmm. You then get rid of Van Gaal because it doesn't get top four, which is the absolute baseline for United. Mm-hmm. That's the only constant, is if you don't get top four, you get fired. Mm-hmm. So then you change back. So okay, full out attacking didn't work. We'll go on to highly functional, which is what Mourinho is. Mm-hmm. That's what Mourinho's always been. And so you go back to a highly functional team, and then Mourinho falls out with senior players, as he has done since Madrid. Yeah. And so you then you change course again, you're going with Solskjaer. And I haven't seen enough of Mulder. It's basically I have half a season at basically half a season at Cardiff in the Premier League, and what he's done at United to go off. I have no idea what Solskjaer wants to do. With the players he's got, he's playing a counter team because that's basically what Mourinho left him. If he wants to change course again and go to a high pressing game, that's fine by him. But that's yet another change. You look at what City and Liverpool, who are the gold standard at the moment. What they have a system, and they buy players for the system and get managers for the system. Liverpool had Klopp, before that they had Rodgers. City, before Pep, had Pellegrini. Pellegrini was very attacking, and Pellegrini was very attacking with all defenders. That's what caught him out. And that's what caught Pep out in his first season. So they went, okay, to play the style, we need to change the defence. That's basically what they did. If you're wanting to change how United go again, you've got a mismatch of 3 different philosophies already in your squad. It's very difficult to then change again and say, okay, I want to get rid of 15 players. Because if you're as a director of football, which doesn't exist at United, but for this for this scenario, let's pretend I am. I've got mishmash of 3 squads. I've got a coach who wants a fourth mishmash of players. How the hell am I supposed to do it? I think that's the problem with the problem with what United did. I think I've got no reason to believe this is the truth, apart from what I can think of how someone wanted it to happen. They didn't want Solskjaer to do as well as he did initially, because they backed themselves into a corner. I said when you beat PSG, he's going to Di Matteo this thing, and the fixtures United had the back end of the season were actually sneaky quite difficult. You had a lot of top half teams.
Well, I said
which was a problem, because what basically you wanted for Solskjaer, if you want Solskjaer to succeed, what you wanted the fixtures you had the back end of this season first, for him to work out what the hell he wants. And then you can have the run at the end of the season against the bottom half to basically, okay, this is the system I've decided on. We've got teams we should be able to steamroll, play however we want because we're Manchester United. Let's play. And then you can work out, okay, this person works here, this person works here. Because what you ended up having is you've got a manager trying to scramble results out of bit parts, and that's how you end up with Ashley Young at centre back.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of the problems that Solskjaer has had this season, in terms of this last third, I think it goes back to the summer that Mourinho had, where basically Mourinho said he wanted 1 or 2 centre backs.
Yeah.
And that was, he didn't want a lot else. He wanted some top quality centre backs, and basically the board turned around and said, no, you don't need any more centre backs.
Yeah, because they'd already bought Bailly and Lindelof.
Yeah.
To them, okay, you want 2 centre backs. What's wrong with the 2 you bought?
Yeah.
And I can totally understand.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
I totally understand why that was the case.
I can understand that, but if you're giving Mourinho the contract that you just gave him 6 months prior,
which they shouldn't have,
which they shouldn't have done.
Really bad.
Which again is another bad decision, which I keep harking back to. If you're going to say to Mourinho, we trust you to do the job, you need to basically turn around to that guy and say, what is it that you need? If your manager is telling you, I need 2 centre backs, if you look at this, yes, Bailly and Lindelof are 2 good centre backs, but if you look at the rest of the centre backs, we've got Jones, Smalling, Rojo, and I think that's it. So we've got 5 centre backs.
Yeah, you need 5.
Yeah, but he wanted rid of Rojo, and I heavily suspect he was getting rid of Jones.
Yeah,
which would have left us with 3. The biggest marker for Rojo was they changed his squad number. Yeah. He went from 5 to 16, which tells you that your squad number's going because you're going, but basically, we didn't tell you, so we're going to have to give you a squad number anyway.
Yeah, but basically, And also, I can believe Mourinho is old-fashioned enough to say, if you're not in my starting 11, you don't get a number 1 to 11.
Yes.
I can believe that's Mourinho's thing.
Yeah.
Even though Lindelof's 2 and Bailly's 3 and Jones is 4. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But, like, I can believe that they wanted a I can believe that Mourinho was unhappy he didn't get a centre-back.
Mm-hmm.
But centre-backs are weird in that it's very difficult to isolate how good an individual centre-back is.
Yes.
Because it's always about what system they play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can both agree the problems of the squad is more than just one centre-back.
Oh yeah, it's more than one centre-back, but I think that the problem started with the fact that Mourinho didn't get backed. He then goes into third season Mourinho mode where
he goes into Huffy Mourinho.
He goes into Huffy Mourinho, starts having go at players thinking that might put a firework up the backsides and get them to play. But with the current model of player that we've got at United, it does the complete opposite, and people shrink. The only exception I think to that was Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw actually improved, but no one else did.
I would say Luke Shaw improved because he wasn't injured for a long period of time.
Yes,
I'm not entirely sure that's Mourinho. I think that's just him being young and then actually playing games consistently.
But like, obviously Shaw has to do something on the training ground to get Mourinho to pick him. Yes. Because even if he's fit, when he was fit, he wasn't getting picked.
Yes,
which was every now and then. Yeah. Wasn't regular, but still he wasn't getting picked. But the problem for me this summer is that Solskjaer is saying there's going to be a lot of these players that aren't going to be here. But the problem he's going to have is that he's not going to be able to get rid of everyone he wants to get rid of.
It's fair. Yeah, I agree. Like, it's fair enough. Solskjaer saying these players aren't going to be here. Mm-hmm. The question, if I was in that press conference, I would say to Solskjaer, "Who's selling them? Mm-hmm. Are you going to sell them personally? Because we know for certain he's not.
Yeah.
To sell a player, mm-hmm. if they are under contract, you need a buyer. Mm-hmm. Apart from the big names, mm-hmm. which I think we might disagree on whether some of the big names should leave. Mm-hmm. Apart from, if you want to get rid of, say, Lindelof and Darmian, and I'm trying to think of mid-tier teams, mid-tier players. Fred, mm-hmm. for instance, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna see like Jones. Mm-hmm. Who's gonna buy Phil Jones?
For the money we're going to want for him, not many people.
Yeah.
But I think for getting rid of him, I think if you look at likes of Burnley and people like that, I think Jones is a club that type of club.
But then, so we flip it round. Can Burnley afford Phil Jones?
They probably we probably won't be bothered about the money that's coming in for him. It's probably going to be the problem is going to be with a lot of these players.
Are you willing
contract?
Are you willing to take a pay cut?
Yeah.
And if I'm at Manchester United, and if I'm at Manchester United as a bit part player, mm-hmm. and you're offering me a significant pay cut to go to Burnley, I'm probably staying at Manchester United.
Yeah. But it's like, I was reading something somewhere where we are considering just cutting Sanchez's contract. Like just paying the 12, 13 million just to get rid of him because we don't think anyone's going to come in and pay for him.
Yes.
Now, for me, if it's me, at this moment in time, I absolutely do that move because I don't think anyone's coming in and doing that. I don't think anyone is.
What I basically do is I shop around Italy, mm-hmm. and because Italy's magical. Mm-hmm. If you're 13 in England, you're 29 in Italy. Mm-hmm. It's magical.
But the only club that I've seen linked with him, with you mentioning Italy, is Inter Milan, and that's it.
So basically, I go to Inter Milan and saying, you don't have to buy him, but what we'll do, you can be on loan, and you only have to pay 20% of the wages. Yeah. We will cover the rest. Don't care what you do with them. Just take them for a year or 2 years or whatever. Take them for a year. 20% of the wages. No fee. Nothing else. Mm-hmm. Just have them. Basically, chuck them off. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty sure if you offered that around to enough clubs, someone will bite.
Mm-hmm. I pray to God they do, because I want that. I never wanted that man in the first place. I said it from day one. As soon as we announced we were in for him, I was like, it's a bad transfer.
It was petty.
Mm-hmm.
You only went in for him because
City wanted him.
City wanted him, and it was funny because I was going to raise this point as well. One thing that Sir Alex and David Gill used to do at United, back before any of this multi-layered technical structure and stuff, was Sir Alex would go to David Gill basically and saying, "We're getting caught up here. Go buy me the best player from one of our rivals." Mm-hmm. That's what you did. Mm-hmm. So like, you'd buy Carrick, you'd buy Berbatov, you'd buy Van Persie, and when was the last time United bought somebody from another Premier League club that wasn't like, apart from Sanchez? Like, Sanchez is the only one, and that hasn't worked because, like, Sanchez.
There's a number of reasons why that.
Sanchez was 29. Ish, 28, 29.
Sanchez was already on the dip.
Yeah, so Sanchez was 28, 29 on a game focused around pace, and he'd been playing this game for 10 years. It's obvious what happens. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't need to learn. No, you don't need to know that much about age curves to know what happens for that. Yeah. So that was always. I think the hope was you'd get 2 good years 18 months good out Sanchez, and then the third year would be a bit hit and miss. Yeah. But it's just gone more drastic. Yeah. It's the problem.
Absolutely.
But so when we're talking about like we've said a few players about going to United, like Declan Rice, and I think we said Longstaff, and we said someone else as well, Zaha.
Rumoured,
yeah. That's like the United of old would buy Loftus-Cheek. They would buy. I'm trying to think. They would buy Robertson. Mm-hmm. No, actually, no. They would buy Alexander-Arnold. That's what they do. That's what United of old would do. They would pay 50 million for Alexander-Arnold. And I know the game's different now, but United, the thing United have lacked ever since Sir Alex has gone is that arrogance, and it's very difficult to get that back now. It's what City have got now. City have got the arrogance.
It's gonna take time, but the way it starts is if we start building it this summer, and that's what the language from Solskjaer has been, is that we are going to restart this summer, and that's what it has to be. Next season could be the same again, where the results aren't the same.
If I'm Solskjaer, I wanted in writing that I can't get fired. Well, like, I can't get fired unless something miraculous, really bad happens, because, like, if you want to do it now properly, you need a technical director or director of football, and you need academy managers and X and Y, and if you don't have one now, you basically have to write this whole next season off. Yeah, because they work a year ahead. So all the work for this summer has basically been done by every other big club. And United don't have that. And that's
another thing that we're not doing, that we used to do, was our business would be done
straight away.
Straight away.
Rio Ferdinand. When did you buy Ferdinand? That was what I was missing. When did you buy Ferdinand? It was like it was like second weekend of July or something. Yeah. Because I remember being on holiday when that happened.
But that's what I'm saying. Clubs like City and Liverpool now, and clubs around Europe, they're all done. Yeah. By the end of June. They're all done by mid-June, and if we haven't got those players in by the middle of June, we're going to be behind again. We're already behind, but I think we're going to be even more behind than what we need to be.
Bayern Munich have already bought centre back from Atletico Madrid.
Well, that's what I mean. They announced him 2 months ago. Yeah. So,
Griezmann's pretty much gone to Barca.
Yeah, I know.
Already. And it's just like, it's that's what's missing. It's a lack of urgency. And I can understand why that's frustrating, because the team isn't great. I think, like, it's probably a bit annoying because, like, you were close to the Champions League when really shouldn't have been.
That's the thing.
You really shouldn't be in it.
That's the one thing out of everything that has given me hope for the next season, is the fact that we were playing so badly at the beginning that he was able to get something out of those players. And if he can bring his own players in over the summer, it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole revamp, but if he can get 5-6 players in, doesn't necessarily have to be top players, it can be a top player and then people that are going to play in the squad every other week. If he can get his guys in, I do think he can start to turn it around, but he has to have the backing from upstairs. And if the board and Ed Woodward can't pull the things out and get it sorted, I don't see how he has a chance. Personally, I don't think it's from lack of ability, because he's shown he can get results out of the players. He went on that run. You don't get that result out of those players without having something on the training ground. But anyway, I think that's enough of Man United.
Can I ask a question that might set up another rant?
Go on.
At what price, if Real Madrid come in, do you sell Paul Pogba for? At what price? Because there must be a price. Because I'm pretty sure my number is a lot higher than yours.
No, I don't think it would be. I think it'd be... It's got to be at least triple digit.
Oh, easily.
It's got to be about 130 probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'd say about... If Real Madrid come in anywhere near that, we have to take it, I think. Because... And people will make the argument of who replaces Pogba?
No one does.
No one replaces Pogba.
No one replaces Pogba, but if you get rid of... If you sell Pogba...
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a lot of money,
mm-hmm.
plus whatever money United have in the back pocket, and also Paul Pogba is such a great player in my opinion because he can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with having a player who can do a lot of things is then you ask him to do a lot of things, and he can't do a lot of things at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
which is Pogba's problem at the minute is that
he's trying to do everything.
He's trying to do everything when if you look at that run we had, his job was to get the ball and put it forward and drive it forward.
Yeah.
He wasn't worried about what was going on behind him because Martin Herrera had that sorted. Yeah. He was able to deal with that. And I think that I'm not one of those that advocates for Pogba going in the summer. If we get the likes of say Idrissa Gueye from Everton, if we get players like that in who can do the job behind him, I have no problem with Pogba being in that team next season. If we don't have those type of players though, and Pogba is going to have to do everything again, what's the point in having another season where he's just not going to be able to perform? Because we all see the player that Pogba can be. Mm-hmm. It's just if I'm Solskjaer, I'm looking at the big stars and I'm thinking, I say big stars. There's two. If I'm looking at the players I've got in my squad at the minute, the one person I'm looking to build my squad around for the next 3-4 years or whatever is Pogba. Yeah, it's not anyone else. It's Pogba. But if Solskjaer is in the mindset of I have to scrap it all and start again, then Pogba maybe has to go. Yeah. But I'm not necessarily advocating for that. I think that you can build a squad around Pogba.
Okay, and a follow-up question. Antonio Valencia's going in the summer. He's your club captain.
Yeah.
Was club captain.
God, why? I don't know. But yes.
Who, I'm not one to say the captain of a club is symbolic with it, but for Manchester United it is.
Yes.
So who would you like who out of the current squad, because I can't imagine they'll give to anybody new, who do you think should get it?
I don't think there is anyone. There isn't. I don't look at that squad and think there is a single player who I would immediately go, that's the person I would make captain. There isn't necessarily someone that screams out to me as the leader. The person that looks like the most to be the leader of everybody, because he seems to I don't even know how to describe it, but it probably is Pogba. Pogba's probably the only person that you could probably say that has some sort of connection with all of that team and can be able and might be prepared to turn around and say this isn't good enough, we need to pull our necks up. But we can't see what we can't see what's said in the training ground or whatever. But if I'm Solskjaer and I'm going back to that previous point, if I'm Solskjaer and I'm building the club and I'm rebuilding this team, if you're going to make Pogba that guy who is that driving midfielder taking it forward and spraying the ball about and doing nothing else, then I make Pogba the captain personally. But again, it all depends on who he brings in, because if he brings in a couple of leaders into the team, then maybe just give it to them, because I think that you need, either you give it to Pogba and you start fresh with him, or you start afresh entirely and bring someone new who is a Solskjaer type player that he's brought in himself into, like, I'm making you captain because you can lead this club. Not Ashley Young, not Antonio Valencia. And don't get me wrong, great servants of the club. There's nothing wrong with what they've done over the years, but like, they're not the type of players that we need. They're not the leaders that we need right now. So that's just me. But anyway, moving on from that. So we'll go to number 5, Mambo number 5, and it is Arsenal, who finished 5th spot with 70 points.
Also, not a good side.
I'm
sticking my neck out. They're not good.
I mean, they're not good, but they only finished a point behind Spurs, who, for all intents and purposes, I would say
they
are a good side.
Yeah. Well, they finished a point behind a Spurs that literally were on their hands and knees at the end because of injuries. I've got a fun game for you.
Go on then.
Can you name all the teams Arsenal beat away from home that finished in the top half of the table?
0.
It is 0.
Hey, I got one right for once.
Got one right. Yeah. Not a good side.
No.
But
again, it's the first season after Wenger. Emery, I think, has done a fairly decent job of what he's got.
Yeah, he's done a decent job. The problem with Arsenal is that squad is so top heavy.
Yeah, it is. But again, this is a summer where he can fix that. He can sort out.
I can't, in my head, I can't think of a system that works for like a whole season that has Lacazette, Aubameyang and Ozil playing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a problem. If you can't get your best 3 players on the pitch consistently for the same time without something being structurally wrong,
mm-hmm.
then that's not a great starting point.
No,
because that's also don't have any good centre backs because Koscielny's too injured now. It's just a shame.
I think ever since the semi-final against Atletico where he did his ligaments, I think that's
always difficult to come back from.
Mm-hmm. Of course it is. Yeah, so it's the worst, probably one of the worst injuries you can possibly get.
Yeah, as
a professional athlete.
So like, they need centre backs, which again I've said are very difficult to buy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do so much work to find ones that work, especially if you're playing a weird quasi 3-5-2, 3-4-1-2, whatever, which is what he wants. I think. I'm not entirely sure whether Emery's gonna run that back next year, but that's what he's done in Europa League, which has been his first choice competition since about March.
Yeah.
So it's a missed opportunity though, because Arsenal really should have finished top 4.
Yeah.
Given their running.
Yeah.
If they could beat anybody away from home, they would have cruised it.
Yeah, if they had if they capitalised on the running, I think they would have easily been top 4. I think it's another summer of development for Emery where he can get in a couple of maybe defenders to sort of start taking over from Koscielny, and maybe try and work. Maybe he's got to work on the system up top specifically, because I know that they've got 2 great players in Aubameyang and Lacazette, and it's about. Aubameyang scored 22 goals in the league this season, but they've finished outside the top 4. It's about making those 22 goals count. And that's unfortunately for them. That's what they've been missing, is making all those goals count. I think it's going to be an interesting summer for Arsenal. It's going to be an interesting summer for a lot of teams, but I think for Arsenal, they've got those specific areas I think they need to focus on in terms of getting the system that works them across the season, as you say, and sorting out that defence for me, I think. And I think with Cech retiring, I think it stops the questions about the keeper of who's the keeper now. Which I think kind of went through the tour once that Cech sort of announced he was retiring. Anyway, those went.
I haven't. Leonard's been fine. I wasn't impressed with the signing, and he's been fine.
At the start, he was a bit shaky, but from the games I've seen him towards the end of the season, he's been absolutely fine. So I don't think there's any sort of worry about him for me, personally.
Yeah, like that whole back line needs sorting out because Bellerin's going to be out for a while. Monreal's legs are pretty much gone. You can't really use him as a fullback anymore if you want to play 4. They don't have any centre halves that are any good. And then you've got, and then you've got the Xhaka problem. Xhaka is a defensive midfielder who can't defend.
Yeah.
Well, he's a deep line player who can't defend.
Yeah.
He's probably no defensive player.
Absolutely. And I think we'll leave it there for Arsenal. Because, again, I suppose they could be in the Champions League next year if they win the Europa League. So
they could.
And I think 5th and a Europa League season, if you're an Arsenal fan at the start of the season...
Yeah, we took that.
You would take that. I know as a Man United fan, I would have took that. Yeah. With the way Mourinho was talking. But yeah. So going now into the top 4, into the promised land. We have... That was beautiful, Millie. Thank you for that. I'm sure anyone who listens to that will appreciate it. So we've got, obviously, in fourth, we've got Spurs, who finished with 71 points. Again, we say 71 points, but I think if they weren't on their hands and knees towards the end of the season, you're probably looking closer to 80. They probably wouldn't have dropped as many points as they did.
Spurs lost 13 games.
Yeah, but again, that's what I mean.
They only drew twice.
They drew twice.
They were like 2/3 of the way through the season. They hand drew a game, which I found amazing.
Well, that's what we say with Spurs, isn't it? It's all or nothing. Like,
it wasn't that. It was just games that were going towards the draw. They would find a late goal from somewhere, and there'll be another 2 points gained. I think I mentioned this earlier. Spurs don't have any non-homegrown spots free for Europa squad, for European squad registrations. So don't expect them to buy anybody from outside the UK unless they sell someone first.
Yeah, that
is your Tottenham Hotspur transfers for 2018, 2019, 2020. If Ericsson goes, they'll buy somebody. If Ericsson doesn't go, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Because Wanyama, I think, counts as homegrown. You might not. So if Wanyama goes, then that frees up a spot.
But again, I think with Spurs, if you look at it for them, top 4 was the aim.
They got top 4. Yep, they are Arsenal when they went into the Emirates. They need top 4 for probably the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
just to make sure that they don't fall behind on the stadium payments.
And to top off that season, they've had an incredible run in the Champions League.
I'm scared, Stu.
Good. I hope you are.
I'm scared, Stu. I don't believe in names on the trophies and stuff like that. Like, each game is independent of one another.
Yeah.
But my God, what Spurs have done, this is quite reminiscent of the 05 title run, and that's what worries me, because I've seen this before, and especially given what happened in both Champions League semis. If it's 2-0 after 60 minutes, and we're like, it's not safe. It's not safe.
It's not safe for either team, really.
It's not safe. If a team goes 2-0 up, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still like even on the live odds or something. That's safe.
But yeah, again, great season for Spurs, and I don't think you can really say any more than that, really. In terms of third, Chelsea, which sounds bizarre to say that Chelsea finished third, because I think a lot of people had them written off.
It's just the Chelsea that's continuously in crisis.
Yes.
It's just the Chelsea that's got to. It's just the Chelsea in crisis that's got to a League Cup final, Europa League final, and finished in the top 4, which they didn't do last year.
Yeah. Big crisis.
I'd love this crisis. I think Chelsea are sneakily in a decent position going forward. They've got a lot of good players that were out on loan.
Yeah. And
if they bring them all back, and if they give them chances, which is 2 very big ifs.
Yeah.
Just please, if any Chelsea hierarchies listening, please play Tammy Abraham. He's so good.
Tammy Abraham.
Just
I don't care if it's only 10 games next season. Just give him a chance.
I know. I mean, to be fair with Chelsea,
It's amazing how much Chelsea... Like, it's a shame he got injured. But it's amazing how much better they looked when Loftus-Cheek was in the lineup. Like, it's just that midfield works so much better when someone who actually knows what he's doing is in there.
yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, as well, I think if you look at, I suppose the defining moment of their season was that cup final, really, wasn't it? With people will not forget that in a hurry with Kepa.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious he didn't want to come off. It was obvious that he thought he was getting brought off because Sarri thought he was injured. It's unclear whether Sarri wanted him off because he didn't think he was good at penalties. That thing was never cleared up. So we have to kind of take Sarri's word and say it was just a miscommunication, even though none of us believe it.
Yeah. And I think that it's going to be...
So sorry to rain on that.
Yeah, but no, it's not that. I just think that, obviously, at the time of reacting to it, everyone was just like, what is going on? Like, is this how bad it is at Chelsea? But
I think that's only when Van Gaal did it at the World Cup and he brought on Tim Krul, everyone was like, what the hell is he doing?
But then when it worked...
Then it worked. And, if the Chelsea other keeper wasn't Caballero, who had done the penalty save, had done the shootout the previous year, if it, say if you swap
Willy Caballero for Sergio Romero, and Kepa does the same thing, are we that outspoken about it?
No, probably not. No. Probably not.
Probably not, yeah.
But again, and I think I keep saying it, interesting transfer window, but for Chelsea especially, with them not being able to buy players, it's more on their ability to keep hold of players.
Well, the only two players that people will want to buy off them will be Hazard, who's probably going to go, and Kante, who probably won't go. Although if I'm PSG, I'm asking how much do they want, and starting from there. Yeah. But I can't imagine that many outgoes. They got Pulisic coming in, which is interesting because he hasn't really progressed in the last couple of years, and he's now lost his place to Sancho. He's a lot younger. So it'll be interesting to see how he integrates. Because if Sarri's still there, which I can't see why they get rid of him. Yeah, he's kind of done the brief. Yeah, it'll be a harsh sacking. Yeah. If Sarri's still there, Pulisic, how quickly he gets that system will be will be whether it's a success or not. It's not anything he's got the ability to do it.
Yeah.
He's no worse than Pedro Willian at the very least. So it's.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there for Chelsea. This is going to be the worst part of the podcast for me.
No, it's not. I'm going to be very quick.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, with the top two, I don't think a lot can be said that hasn't already been said about it. Yeah. Because I think the top two are very much intertwined, aren't they? Yeah. I think how good they've been.
How good they've been. It was an interesting question that I can't remember which podcast it was that I listened to. Asked whether this was the greatest title race in England. And on one hand, you've got the team's got 98 and 97 points. Of course it is. These teams are unbelievable. And on the other hand, you've got, this team's dropped any points. It was just this team's won. This team's won. Oh, they won again. Oh, they won again. Oh, they won again. Yeah. And because the thing I don't like about this is old man yelling at clouds thing, but I don't like how come near the end of the season it's only the last day that's played at the same time, especially when you've got a title race like this. It would have been a lot more. There would have been a lot more drama if you had Man City and Liverpool playing at the same times over the last few weekends, because then that late goal for company does so much more if Liverpool were also playing at the same time. Yeah, I think rather than just Like, I can't imagine anybody from Liverpool was actually watching that match.
Yeah, but we
Because
all know.
it was the day before the Barcelona game.
We all know the reason why it is.
Yeah,
the way
I
it
know, which is
It's-
why it's old man yelling at clouds.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those things that if you want drama in a title race, when you do actually have teams that are neck and neck, they're not playing at the same time, and it's just like it would be nice. It would be nice to play them on the same day.
Yeah, but I mean,
Looking for one.
yeah, but obviously going away from that point, I think that just if you had said last season that City would have finished with 98 points after having a 101 point season, I don't think many would have believed it. No, because
I would have.
You would have, but you're the rare exception to the rule, because I think if you look at the history of the Premier League, how many teams
back it up?
How many teams back it up? Especially in the past 6-7 years, very few teams have gone on to retain it unless you've been managed by Jose Mourinho or Alex Ferguson. Because even Arsene Wenger didn't do back to back.
Yeah, Wenger never did back to back. Mourinho did back to back once.
Yeah, he did back to back once, but he's still done it.
And he did back to those early Chelsea teams were so much different than anything else that was going around at the time, and they, especially the first year, they won because of that. Like no one had seen a 4-3-3 played in England in that way, with like a destroyer in midfield, two quick guys cutting inside, and almost being like three strikers up front with Duff and Robin.
Yeah,
like that team doesn't, like, I think that team kind of gets lost some when we're talking about great Premier League sides sometimes. Like I know these City teams are amazing, and this Liverpool team is amazing, but I said this last week. I don't know what you do differently if you're Liverpool.
I don't think
Because if you run this back again next season, I don't know what I would set the line at points wise, but I wouldn't set it above 90. And I can't imagine a City getting less than 95 again, let's be honest, unless something weird happens. So,
well, like Guardiola going to Juventus.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have to be Guardiola leaving for me to bet against City at the moment. And then even if Guardiola goes, like there's no guarantee that who they get in isn't also quite good. So it's
but I mean, it's like, and we've said it again and again and again, but the two, you look at the two seasons that they've both had, and I can't see it being that level of points between two teams again. I think both teams are going to drop a little bit. I don't think Liverpool are going to get 97 and only lose one game next season.
Oh yeah, like you could, like, the difference between Liverpool getting 97 and Liverpool getting, let's say, high 80s is so slim. And I think with what City have built, high 80s probably isn't going to cut it anymore. It used to be if you get like 2 points per game usually gets you top 4, like pretty easily, and then around mid 80s upwards, that was your title.
Yeah.
And now you're having to shift that 10 points.
Yeah.
And 10 points over a season is a lot.
It is, but as I say, I think that
I will
for me,
I will probably have my next season predictions probably going to be the same as this one. Liverpool get around 90 points and finish 6 points shy.
Yeah. I think for me the top two is the same two teams. I don't see a gap being closed by anyone below them. I think
the only, like, with the way Spurs have built their squad and stuff, I can't see them improving. Chelsea, with their transfer ban at the moment, you can't see them improving. and we both agree that Arsenal United are too far away. So it's kind of by default, though. So unless Wolves...
Yeah.
unless Wolves do something.
Wolves could be our saviour.
Yes.
Well, my saviour anyway.
Jorge Mendes.
Where are you?
Where are you?
But anyway, and I think as we approach 2 hours, good lord, it was 2 hours. We'll leave it at that. I don't think we're not gonna go into any basketball and tennis because 2 hours is got to be the cut-off point.
I can do your NBA update very, very quickly.
Go on then.
The old Golden State Warriors team are too good for Portland, and Giannis is too good for Toronto. There you go.
Right. And with that note, good night and enjoy whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.